Hey everyone, welcome to this Lunar Eclipse Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for the eclipse on January 10th, 2020. All right, so very important time here of the eclipse cycle. We're at the heightened part of the cycle here for furthering to develop the Gemini side of ourself. The eclipse will be in Gemini. If you're expecting me to say Cancer, check out the link down below. We are using the actual size of the constellations, which changes the signs from mainstream astrology. All right, so great time of developing the energy of the twins, which is about learning, sharing, exchanging, getting into our practical side, and how can we further develop this for the next 6 months to a year. Now, Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, is going to be behind the sun combust with this. So there could be maybe some unconscious things coming up during this time, and really good to bring extra attention to our mind and communication. With this, we're going to have the lunar eclipse opposite Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is this restructuring we have taking place this month and in the next couple days with our systems, structures, and things we've depended on. And there's also a trine up to Neptune with this eclipse. So really good for maybe receptivity and a willingness to go with the flow and seeing how things do happen in this sort of divine timing. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the chart for the lunar eclipse. It will be at 15:10 Eastern time on Friday, January 10th, if you do want to make that calculation for wherever you are, wherever you will be in the world. But this video is for the surrounding days, both Thursday through Saturday as well. All right, and if you are new to the channel, definitely subscribe down below and hit that notification bell if you haven't yet to be notified when new videos are uploaded. This channel is different from mainstream astrology in that we are using the actual size of the constellations. As you can see here, they're uneven. They're not an even 30 degrees as they are in mainstream astrology. So this does change the signs, but it is the accurate representation of where these planets actually are in the visible sky. So if you're new, definitely check out the link down below for more information. All right, so let's go ahead and analyze this. We have the lunar eclipse down here in Gemini, the constellation of the twins. And this is a north node lunar eclipse. So first of all, being a lunar eclipse, it's like a full moon. It's a good time of gaining some awareness, but maybe particularly some very important awareness for life path and life journey that could take us into the next 6 months to a year. So good to do a status check. How is this Gemini side of ourself? Gemini is the side of ourself that is willing to learn, willing to share and exchange. Rules things like communication, reading, writing, business, trade, right? Also our flexibility. Gemini is the side of ourself that is flexible, willing to adapt, be light on our toes, and really just take things a little bit more lighthearted in the sense of this willingness to learn. Because when we do approach anything in life with a willingness to learn, right, there's less of that pressure. We're willing to make more mistakes and be adaptive and again flexible and light. So really good for that. And Gemini is very practical as well. Really good to get into the side of ourselves that is, very grounded into what can be verified and implemented and put to use in the practical realm. So really good to do a status check with this side of ourselves. And again, how can we further develop it moving forward in this year, really. And this could also be a harvest, anything from the past 6 months that has started anew on this level when we last had the eclipse here, which would have been a solar eclipse. How can we, maybe harvest, be aware of what has culminated in our life in regards to this side of ourselves. And usually with eclipses or really with full moons in general, there's a bit of a shift and change. So with whatever does come to your awareness or whatever does harvest, how can we now make this shift and change so again, we can further develop this energy into our life. Now, the fact that it's involving the North Node means that this could be about building some future karma or our dharma, things that involve the future that we can implement in healthy ways involving Gemini, right? But the North Node is very new, right? So this is very important here with this. It's these new things that maybe have been from about almost the past year that we've been developing that has been new with this practical, flexible, adaptive learning side of ourselves. Good to, again, further develop, but with the willingness to make mistakes, right? because with newness, it's kind of like the full card in the tarot, which is about being willing to make mistakes, right? Challenge ourselves, have new experiences. We're very new here, and treating it as we're very new here is a great way of working with it as well. And just good to explore it, challenge ourselves, and yeah, make mistakes with all this Gemini energy. It's very much supported as we do move forward with this. All right, so that's the eclipse in terms of the placements, but there's a lot going on with it. With all lunar eclipses and full moons, there is this importance of balance. And in this case, it's all of the planets that we do have in Sagittarius. This eclipse will be opposite up to the Sun-Mercury conjunction that just so happens to be going exact here, as well as the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which will be going exact in a couple days on Monday. So very important stuff. Starting first with Mercury. The fact that Mercury is behind the sun, combust, usually means that our minds, which again is involved with Gemini, our mind, our communications, is a little bit more into the unconscious realms. It's behind the sun. And what usually takes the dominance in how we're focused is on the sun energy, more about fire, maybe passion, and it can drown out the mind or communication. So it's very important during combust time to bring extra attention to the mind, to be aware of it, and also to our communications or correspondence, just to make sure that it is conscious and not just happening sort of automatically or unconsciously, right? And so this is very symbolic for this Gemini side of ourselves to maybe be unseen during this time. But again, as we shine that conscious light, it can bring that awareness to that. All right, so really good to do this, and this is all happening in Sagittarius, which means that the balancing point with this more practical, flexible energy is to remember to continuously expand our horizons, right? To expand our beliefs, our perspectives, our worldview, our philosophy, our adventurous side, our free-spirited side, because where Gemini is very practical and is very much about information, right, and learning, and it's kind of left side of the brain stuff, it's important to balance that with the right side of the brain stuff, the abstract realms, right? What gives us spiritedness, what expands our horizons, right? What is the abstract in the situation? What's the higher knowledge or higher wisdom or higher perspective of the situation? Really good to balance that with Gemini. All right, and then the opposition up to Saturn-Pluto means that this part of the month, and you could argue all year, there is this restructuring that's going to be taking place with our systems right now. This can be collective, of course, with things like economics, governments, things like this, probably going to start to go through a bit of a restructuring process. In fact, we've already been seeing that lately. But in terms of our personal lives, what are some things that we have built over many years that now we can practice more non-attachment with to allow for more change and restructuring, right? Because when we are non-attached and we are willing to change, then that's when the restructuring can happen. And then we're setting the intention to do that. And we're the agent of change versus it's not happening to us. We're the ones restructuring. So anything that we can do specifically with our beliefs with Sagittarius, our perspective, collectively, that's what's transforming and that's what's changing, is these potentials, these higher ideas, these opportunities, these kind of perspectives, belief systems, right? So practicing non-attachment to that, but really any structures in our life can be super valuable. All right, so lots going on with this. There's also this trine up to Neptune with this lunar eclipse. So on the supportive side of things, there could be an opening for receptivity. Naturally speaking, it can be a little bit easier to be willing to go with the flow, have a little bit more acceptance, bring in a little bit more peace into our life. It does favor spirituality, imagination, creativity, right? More of the etheric realms. Very supportive with the lunar eclipse. All right, everyone. So that is the most important stuff taking place here. Now, in terms of the aspects, since again, this will be for the surrounding days. As you can see here, we have that Mercury combust the sun almost at the exact time of the eclipse there. Midday Eastern time of the Americas, again, wherever you want to make that calculation for the world. So leading up to it, again, good to start to become aware of how we can implement this Gemini energy, see maybe what has harvested and what we can be grateful for and focus on in regards to that practical side of ourselves. And then going into Saturday here, we do have Uranus going station direct. So we usually don't feel this that personally, but if there is anything that is something you want to start to implement into your life that you may notice will give you more freedom, or is something progressive or innovative, Uranus rules technology, innovative things, our future ideals, sometimes group activities, right? These kind of challenging the status quo, innovative, individualism, progressive things. Really good to start to move forward if there has been anything on that level that's been on the back burner for about the past 6 months. But do give it time. It does take time for these outer planets to gain some momentum. And then when we do get into the Sunday time period, that's when we're going to have the exact conjunctions with the Sun and Mercury conjunct with Saturn, Pluto. So there'll be a lot going on. I'll make a separate video on that one. All right. So everyone, that is the lunar eclipse in a nutshell. Again, it will be at 15:10 Eastern time of the Americas in the actual constellation of Gemini. So great time of doing this status check with this side of ourselves that is willing to learn, with the North Node, make mistakes, try new things. It's also willing to share and exchange, see eye to eye with others, share ideas. It's very flexible, adaptive, light on our toes, and practical, right? And good to further develop this side of ourselves moving forward. Balancing that with the abstract realms of continuing to expand our horizons and see the bigger picture and what gives us that spirit for life, as well as bringing extra attention to the mind and communication as it is combust at the moment, and seeing how we can create some changes with our structures or things we've depended on, or responsibilities for the past, sometimes many, many years with this type of conjunction. But again, fundamentally, maybe non-attachment to our beliefs and to our perspectives for the transformation to occur there. Neptune supporting this with some receptivity and acceptance. All right, so everyone down below in the comment section, I will put which houses this lunar eclipse is taking place. I say houses because I'm going to put both the Gemini house for you, which is where the harvest and culmination will be. That will be the first house listed below. But I'm also going to put Sagittarius because there's a lot going on here. Again, that's also where there's going to be some changes. So the second house will be what's going to be transforming and changing with Pluto, Saturn, and what we want to balance with this lunar eclipse. All right, so do check that out. You can see that for your ascendant, sun, or moon sign, but make sure it is your sidereal sign. Again, if you are new to the channel, definitely check out the link. There's also a chart calculator for getting more information on your signs to see your exact signs. All right, so everyone have a fantastic lunar eclipse. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you all next time for the next daily video. Take care.